Senators Bratton,
Here.
Hudson,
Here.
Gregory, Henderson,
Here.
Nurrenbern, Schroer,
Here.
Weber.
All right, quorum being established. So we're going to go into hearing Senate Bill 11 first, but then we're going to break. We're going to go to a presentation by Midwestern Higher Education Compact, and then once they're done, we're going to resume the hearings on the remaining bills. So, Senator Hough, if you would like to begin.
Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senator Lincoln Hough, representing the 30th Senatorial District. Appreciate the time this morning and the deference to allow me to go first. Senate Bill 11 is in my opinion, really a conversation about the future workforce of this state. And if any of you all have paid attention to our previous governor, he talked about two things for the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, which was infrastructure and workforce development. And the second part of that, in my opinion, deals specifically to Senate Bill 11 and the degrees that are offered at other institutions around the state. Currently, the way our statutes are written, the University of Missouri system essentially has veto authority over a number of degrees that are offered at other institutions. And while I appreciate and support the $500 million that we send to the University of Missouri system every year, I don't know that this is still the best system in place for the students that are oftentimes looking at the University of Arkansas, Ole Miss, Alabama, OSU, when they're talking about furthering their educational opportunities post 2 and 4 year degrees. So again, nothing taking away from our flagship university, but in my opinion, this is about keeping, retaining, and building the workforce that this state needs over the next few generations. And it's probably worth saying that the Coordinating Board for Higher Education would still have authority over degrees offered at other institutions. This doesn't completely open up every single other 4-year institution to offer whatever degree program they want. And then I will say, just as the approach chair, that it also doesn't take any state resources away from one institution or another. So we would still be in charge of, and a number of the members of this committee serve on the Appropriations Committee, which we have a hearing in a few minutes. So you might want to be there too, because we're going to vote out a supplemental $2 billion bill. We would still be in charge of appropriating those resources. So that's the short version of Senate Bill 11. I know we've got a handful of witnesses that are going to come forward, but Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, happy to answer any questions from you all at this time.
Any questions? Now, this is as written only applies to the doctorate, correct, or higher.
Yeah, these are all like, in my opinion, post-secondary education. Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right, perfect. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Anyone to testify in support, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Tom Strong. I support Senate Bill 11. The present unconscionable law does two things that adversely affect our students and our workforce. First, it provides that only the University of Missouri, among tax-supported universities, can confer PhD degrees. Second, it provides that the University of Missouri is the only tax-supported university that can confer degrees in 10 named programs. This archaic law must be repealed. University of Missouri offers PhD degrees on all 4 of its campuses. On the Rolla campus, for example, with 7,200 students, it offers 15 PhD degrees in 15 different disciplines. On the other hand, Missouri State University, with more than 3 times as many students as the Raleigh campus, is not permitted to offer a single PhD degree. Senate Bill 11 would allow students in Missouri to have these degrees. It would entice students from our sister states to come here for their degrees. At the present time, the University of Missouri is the only tax-supported university that can confer a degree in dentistry, law, medicine, optometry, podiatry, and veterinary medicine. It is the only tax-supported university that can confer a cooperative degree in chiropractic, osteopathic medicine, pharmacy, and engineering. We're the only state in the union where only one tax-supported university can confer an engineering degree. We're the only state in the union that gives the flagship university a monopoly on so many programs. Now, let's expose this myth that somehow Senate Bill 11 would cost taxpayers money. There's not one word in Senate Bill 11 that requires the legislature to appropriate 1 red cent to any new bill. The Committee on Legislative Research, an objective governmental body with no dog in the fight, has ascertained correctly that Senate Bill 11 is fiscally neutral. MU's argument, repeated ad nauseum, that somehow this bill would be a burden to the taxpayer just does not hold water. Mr. Chairman, this bill is not an anti-MU bill. I'm a proud graduate of the University of Missouri. I love MU. But the fact that MU is a fine university doesn't mean that other universities shouldn't have a right to be all that they can be. Missouri University will always have the right to confer degrees on all 4 of its campuses, PhD degrees. Will always have the right to confer degrees in its 10 named programs. It is just time for Missouri to enter the 21st century in higher education. We shouldn't be the only state in the union where only one tax-supported university can confer an engineering degree. We shouldn't be the only state in the union that so severely restricts PhD degrees. We shouldn't be the only state in the union that gives one tax-supported university the exclusive right to confer so many degrees. We can correct this injustice. Senate Bill 11 would allow us to offer an affordable education at a convenient location for students who live in all parts of Missouri. It would benefit our students and it would benefit our workforce. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. So, looking at the bill, I know you had said there's not 1 penny that's appropriated in this bill, but does Missouri State already have research facilities for their dentistry, for medicine, for optometry, pharmacy, and veterinary? Do they have those ready to go to start offering those?
The president of Missouri State University will testify this morning, and he would be better prepared. We know that Missouri State University does have master's degrees for 58 universities. They have, at the present time, 8 doctoral programs, not PhD, but the president of Missouri State will be a witness.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions? See none. Thank you very much for your testimony, sir. Anyone else to testify in support?
Yeah, thanks.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm here in support of Senate Bill 11. Let me begin by introducing myself. My name is John Hutchinson. I'm a semi-retired college faculty member and administrator. I was the president of 4 public and private colleges. You might think I can't hold a job, but I was never fired from any of those. And I also served as Commissioner of Higher Education for the state of Montana earlier in my career. Currently, I'm a higher education executive search consultant working to help colleges and universities find senior administrators. I hasten to add that I am not in any way either personally or professionally connected with any public institution in the state of Missouri. So a bit of background. A couple of years ago, the Missourians for the Improvement of Higher Education asked me to survey other states to determine any statutory limitations they might have on the issuance of doctorates and degrees in engineering. So I contacted all 50 of the state higher education executive officers, and in addition, the state higher education executive officer for the District of Columbia. These SHEOs, as they are called, serve as chiefs of staff either to a coordinating board or a governing board. So, for example, when I was in Montana, I was the SHEO for the governing board for all of the public institutions in the state. I received 35 responses, and for those 16 that I did not receive, I personally reviewed the statutes, the higher education statutes in each state, and I was asking 4 questions. Number 1, does the state have any restrictions on offering research doctorates or engineering? Number 2, does the state have restrictions on offering first professional degrees, such as medicine, law, pharmacy, and so on? 3, does the flagship institution in the state retain the degree granting rights when other institutions are permitted to offer doctorates? And 4th, does the flagship institution have veto rights if another institution aspires to offer a doctorate or engineering? Now, I will summarize very briefly the results, but I do have a handout here which will be available to you, which has all of the data that I received from this survey that I conducted. So, here are the quick results. Number 1, no state in the country restricts engineering to a single institution. Number 2, 40 states have no statutory limitations on the issuance of doctoral degrees by institution. Number 3, 6 states specify which institutions can offer first professional degrees. I'll name them, but again, they're in the handout, so don't need to worry about the detail here. California, Connecticut, Louisiana, Missouri, South Dakota, and Washington. 4, 9 states limit the issuance of research doctorates to 1 or 2 institutions, and 5, only California has statutory limitations similar to those in Missouri. Research doctorates are limited to the branches of the University of California. California state university institutions may offer doctorates in education, audiology, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and public health. And finally, all other doctorates in California are in cooperation with the University of California. So the conclusion to be drawn from this survey is that Missouri has the most restrictive statute in the nation when it comes to the issuance of engineering degrees or research doctorates. Only California has similar restrictions. So that concludes my testimony this morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, but in my professional opinion, it is time to loosen the restrictions on higher education, and I would certainly urge your support of Senate Bill 11.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Go for it.
Sir, I appreciate your testimony. You said that we're the only state that has one program that offers engineering degrees in the state?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear
I think
that.
you said that Missouri is the only state in the union that only one program will offer engineering degrees?
Yes, Missouri is the only state that restricts the offering of engineering degrees to one institution.
Okay, but Washington University has an engineering program, correct?
Right, but that Washington University, Senator Weber, is a private institution.
Okay.
I'm-
But when you said only one institution, you didn't mean just one institution, you meant one public institution.
Correct, thank
So you
you
were
for the
just missing the
correction.
private universities.
Right.
Okay, so just to be clear for everyone, there is more than one program in the state, is that correct?
Yes, Senator Weber, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? So to piggyback on my last one, what would you say a state-of-the-art research facility for medicine, I guess, would cost, since, it would be required to be able to offer these, these sorts of degrees, you would have to have a facility like that, correct?
Yes, Senator Bratton, you would have to have necessary facilities, both clinical, research, and otherwise, for any doctorate, not just medicine. But in that case, you'd have to have those facilities.
Okay. So I guess looking at MU's research facility, what would you say in a ballpark something like that would cost?
Senator, I couldn't even begin to guess what the cost of that would be.
Hundreds of millions?
I would hasten to add, I'm not sure. I think it probably would be approaching 100 million or more, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Anyone else to testify in support? And if please remember to fill out a witness form so we can, if you didn't. So thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Biff Williams, and I have the honor of being the president of Missouri State University, going on 7 short months. It's been a privilege to be here in the state of Missouri. Missouri State University is the second largest institution. We have approximately 27,000 students and growing. This past fall, we enrolled more students at Missouri State University than any time in the history of our institution. Looking forward to this fall, one of our key indicators is looking at paid deposits. And this year, we believe we're going to have another record-breaking enrollment, as we have double-digit increases of paid deposits this year. Right now, as an institution, we have over 90 undergraduate programs. Those are distinct undergraduate programs, and there's many emphases within those. We have 59 master degree programs, and we have 8 professional doctoral programs. One of our points of pride is that 83.5% of our students on our campus are Missourians. And then looking at our alumni, we have over 155,000 alumni, and another point of pride for us is 69% of those live, work, play, raise their families in Missouri. Missouri State University supports Senate Bill 11 as a growing institution, a university that serves Missouri. We need flexibility to respond to workforce needs. Market dictates, as it should, when, where, how degrees are offered in the state. But currently, if market dictates that there's a need for a certain PhD, institutions like Missouri State University can't offer those because the law prohibits that. Currently, we can't even explore those programs because of limited resources. We don't want to send them down a rabbit hole where we can't offer those because the law prohibits that. Removing the statutory restrictions allows us to be responsive to the marketplace, and in my mind, there is no negative impact on any other institution or on the state of Missouri. Currently, the state coordinating board, as mentioned before, has all the authority to be able to approve those programs. Having limited witness of this, there's a very rigorous process by the state board. They look at market demand. They make sure that everything is viable for that degree program, and they have final approval. As you know, the national narrative in higher education is that we are not nimble enough or responsive enough to the marketplace. And so higher education really needs to embrace the rapidity of the acceleration of knowledge. As you know, the knowledge in the United States, because of technology, is accelerating at a pace that we've never seen before in the history of our country. State institutions, for the sake of our economies, will need to be more nimble, especially Missouri State University, as well as all other universities here in the state. By removing these restrictions, We see that there's still checks and balances by the coordinating board, and we as an institution want to make sure that we are responding to these market needs. As mentioned before, do we have the facilities? This is not an opportunity for us to start a med school or a major research institution become an R1. This is to meet market needs. We've been asked several times about the facilities, and just because we can offer a certain degree program doesn't mean that we should. I just came from the state of Utah. I was in the youngest university that had university status. We added over 200 degree programs from certificate to professional doctorate in a 10-year period of time. That was in collaboration with the state board, with the legislature, with all the institutions. Moving forward, if these regulations are lifted, we'll work collaboratively with the state to meet those workforce demands. Just this week, we had a student that's coming that has accepted. She's going to go into technical writing. Her goal is to get a PhD in technical writing. They asked when they were on the tour, will you offer that? We said, state law prohibits that. We won't even explore that. This is something that if you look at our English faculty, we could offer. We have 2 master's degree in that area. We could offer with limited to no resources added. Also, as an institution, we are making sure that we're nimble, that we're offering the degree programs that are necessary for the workforce in the state of Missouri. So as institutions of higher learning, we need to look at what we're offering. Is it viable? Are Missourians getting jobs? And so again, our purpose for this is to allow us to be nimble and responsive, and we'll do that in a manner where the coordinating board will regulate that. So our request is to please support Senate Bill 11. With that, I'll answer questions.
Any questions from the committee for this witness? Senator Nurrenbern.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to Missouri.
Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony this morning and all of those who've come forward. One of the things that I just want to highlight, truly just a comment, is I really appreciate you explaining how this is really about meeting workforce needs. And while I've only been in the legislature 5 years, it's a frequent criticism of higher education.
Yes.
That it is too antiquated, that we are not evolving fast enough. And as we continue to see workforce challenges across our state, I think you really highlight something very important, that this simply would allow your institution or another institution to be nimble, to meet those needs, while at the same time keeping in place all of the systems of checks and balances. So appreciate your testimony, and I appreciate the legislation before us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. President, for being here. So you obviously have put some thought into this.
Yes.
You've ruled out some programs. You said you didn't want to do a med school. You didn't want to do some sort of expensive research. So you put enough thought in it to rule some programs out. So my question, I guess, is what program would you like to start? If this passes, if Senate Bill 11 passes this year, what will you be looking at starting either next year or in the very near future?
So we don't have a list right now because we haven't been able to really explore that.
Okay,
and I get that.
But you have explored it enough to the point you've ruled things out, right? You've explored it enough to say that we don't want to start a med school. You've explored it enough to say we don't want to do certain types of research. And so the reason I started that way is because I assumed that you would try not to give me an answer.
Right.
So you've thought about it enough to say no to certain things. So the idea that we haven't explored it is not true, because you've explored it enough to say certain things are off the table. So if you've explored it enough to say certain things are off the table, my question is, in that exploration that resulted in you saying these things are off the table, what are some of the things you came across that you would like to do?
So I would just back up on that we haven't really explored it. And where I have ruled things out is from my experience in Utah. And so partnering with the University of Utah.
Not based on the Missouri workforce, based on your experience in Utah, you've ruled out certain things.
With my comment with regards to medical school and veterinary school and some of these, is that having experience, I was also at Indiana State adding workforce programs with the IU School of Medicine. Where the experience comes is from a medical school. In order for Missouri State, for example, to do medical school, we'd have to have the legislature come and say, we need you to do this, and here are the resources. That's not going to happen. We're currently working with Mizzou in that they're trying to add 2 additional years in the Springfield campus. We're advocating for them. We're doing professional alliances with them. We're excited about that. So we're looking at what are the programs that are feasible now? So I've heard, you're going to do a veterinary school because we have a great college of ag. We haven't explored that. We're doing a strategic plan right now. That's not even on the table yet. So it's not that we're thinking through what's not. really our focus is how do we get this restriction so when a market analysis comes and says you need to add this or you need to add that, that we can have a concerted effort to look at, is this a need? Is there a demand? Just like the technical writing, for example. I don't know. The parent said there's huge demand because you have technical writing that needs to be, with the tech age. We would study and explore that. It might or might not be something that we can do. Same thing with medicine and veterinary. We haven't really ruled anything out, but my statement
So
to
your
you,
testimony when you said you ruled this out, that was not accurate, because you just said you ruled that out like 4 minutes ago.
well, it's ruled out in that my prior experience. You indicated that what we're doing is we're thinking through and we're starting to eliminate. It's coming from my experience, not from the state of Missouri.
Okay, so I don't think there's any mystery that I'm against this bill.
What was that?
I think everybody's on the same page in this room that I'm against this bill. I don't think that.
Yeah.
The question is really, is there a way to work through this? And if you can't tell me what we're trying to get to, if you can't tell me what the goal is, it's very, very difficult for me to work with you and try to find something that works for both parties. So I just want to be very clear, as the president of Missouri State University, you are not able to tell me what programs you will start in the near future if Senate Bill 11 passes.
But I can share with you what the goal is. The goal is to remove the restrictions so that we can explore and that we can be nimble and responsive to workforce demands. For me to sit here and tell you that it's this program, that, to identify a program, again, I've been experienced with 200 plus programs. To look at a program, you first have to look at the workforce analysis. You look at every state school that offers that. You look at the curriculum. You look if you have the resources. You look at, are there jobs after that? This doesn't happen overnight. But right now, we can't even get to that point because of these restrictions. And this does no harm to any other school, especially Mizzou, in that you have the coordinating board. With the coordinating board, if we did a market analysis on program X, they would say, yes, you should offer that, or no, you shouldn't offer that. Right now, we can't even have the candid conversation with workforce because there's restrictions on this. So I'm not going to name you a 5-10 program. I talked to President Choi. He wanted me to name them. I told him, honestly, this is to remove the regulation so that we can explore, so that we can be nimble, so that the state of Missouri can progress. We'll work collaboratively with them.
I'm trying to work with you, but you're not giving me anything to work with you with if you won't answer the question. My last question is, right now you can partner with the University of Missouri to offer PhD programs. Have you reached out to them to partner with them? Have they turned you down? Are there specific programs they've said, no, we will not partner with you on?
Again, we're trying to get the statute, the restrictions off so we can know if there's a program. Again, if there's a certain program, we will reach out and partner first. We've done that on several programs with pharmacy. We've done that with education. For example, the education degree, we did that for years. And then Missouri felt like it wasn't viable for them, so now we offer the EDD program, and it's serving all the teacher educators. Again, if this restriction, we can study that out, then we can reach out to our partners. And if you're worried that we're going to just try to go rogue and on our own, look at my background, look at Utah, look at Indiana, what we did. Lots of partnerships. This is what's best for the state of Missouri. It's not what's best for Missouri State or for Mizzou. This is relieving restrictions so we can all be nimble and move forward.
So you've successfully partnered with Mizzou on multiple programs. Other programs that you've tried to offer at Missouri State approached the University of Missouri about offering PhD programs, and the University of Missouri has told you no.
Have they told us no for anything?
For partnering with
Since I've been here, no.
Okay.
I've only been here 7 months. I don't know about the past, no.
Thank you.
Any further questions? See none. Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else testify in support, please come forward.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Ed Gargas. I am a lifelong Southeast Missourian, currently residing in Dexter, Missouri. I'm a proud graduate of Southeast Missouri State University. I also have a master's in business administration from William Woods University and a master's in strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College. I served in the National Guard for over 31 years, enlisting in '87, retired at the rank of colonel. I'm a combat veteran of the Global War on Terror. I'm also a proud father of a University of Missouri graduate, soon to be a Master's of Business Administration graduate at Southeast Missouri State University, and a Mizzou football ticket holder for over 15 years. Additionally, I was appointed to the Southeast Missouri State University Board of Regents, now Board of Governors. For a 6-year term, I served on the board as the board vice president in my 3rd year and as president in years 4 through 6. I'm well acquainted with the fact that students in Southeast Missouri are going to other states such as Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, and Arkansas for programs that present law does not allow Southeast Missouri State University to offer. Unfortunately, traveling to the University of Missouri is not a realistic choice for many students from Southeast Missouri. It takes about 3.5 hours, not counting any stops, to travel from Cape Girardeau to Columbia, even further from the Boot Heel of Missouri. It is much more convenient for students to go across the river to Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, just 45 minutes from Cape Girardeau, or students in the Boot Heel to drive an hour to Arkansas State University. Students can go there and come home on weekends or commute daily. The cost is also a factor, as students can attend SIU and other institutions such as Murray State, Arkansas State, more cost efficiently than the University of Missouri. My friend, Barry Aycock, is a perfect example of this driving constraint. He's a graduate, his undergraduate degree from Southeast Missouri State University, and then he made the trip from Parma to Columbia to get his master's. But the hardship, and he could not sustain that hardship, and the challenge with traveling from Southeast Missouri to Columbia after completing his master's, and ultimately decided to complete his PhD at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. The biggest need that Southeast Missouri could fulfill if the law allowed it is engineering. Again, if the law allowed Southeast Missouri State to offer an engineering degree and the Coordinating Board of Higher Education approved. My fraternity brother, Chris Kaler, was forced to complete his civil engineering degree at at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale because the logistics of getting back and forth from Jackson, Missouri to Columbia and to continue support to his family business was just too great. My fellow deacon, Eric Kropp from Dunklin County, received his civil engineering degree from Arkansas State University for the same reasons. It's just too difficult to get to Columbia, or Rolla from that matter, from Southeast Missouri. Southeast Missouri could also help address a growing need in our region for healthcare professionals with advanced degrees. I cannot even begin to count the number of students choosing Arkansas State over SEMO because of the educational opportunities there that are not available at Southeast Missouri State University. I'm in favor and fully support Senate Bill 11. It does not prohibit the University of Missouri system from offering any programs it wants to offer, and it supplies a convenient and economical way for Missouri students to stay in Missouri. Thank you very much for listening to my statement.
Thank you very much. Any questions? See none. Thank you for your testimony. Be sure and leave a witness form. Anyone else to testify in support? If we could, we definitely need to kind of speed it up. We have a very heavy docket today, so thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, my name is Peter Herschen. I'm from Branson, Missouri. My brother and I founded a business that you may know, Silver Dollar City. I'm a proud graduate of the University of Missouri School of Business and Public Administration. My comments today are focused on a single issue. The issue of restrictions protected by current law that prohibits all state universities, except the University of Missouri, from offering specific advanced degrees. I ask the committee to consider with me dwelling on this question. Is this restriction good for the students, or for the state of Missouri, or the people of the state of Missouri? You've already heard that no other state in this nation has the kind of restriction that Missouri does. no other state grants such protection to a single university. And why would they? To support such a restriction contributes to a brain drain. We hear about students going to other states, Arkansas, to Illinois, because it's simply more convenient for the student. It's not a matter of don't like Missouri, it's a matter of travel economics. It forces students to move out of state to get certain advanced degrees, which logically means some of Missouri's best and brightest will leave the state because they'll get a job offer in another state when they graduate. That's just the way it works. Why would the state of Missouri do this when we have state-supported universities that have students seeking degrees that are currently restricted? And at least some of the state's universities are capable of providing some of those degrees. This is basic supply and demand. For example, there is a demand for some of the restricted professional degrees in Southwest Missouri. And in both, there is both a desire and the capacity in our area to meet that demand. You've already heard that testimony. To ignore this is to put Missouri at a disadvantage in terms of building our workforce. We need to drive our economy forward. And that, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, makes no sense. Missouri needs to be more competitive, not less. We need the spirit of private enterprise to drive our university system just as it drives our business community. Education in Missouri at all levels contributes to Missouri's workforce availability and readiness. Missouri must allow multiple tax-supported universities to provide their students programs currently restricted by law. Let's keep those students who would otherwise go out of state to earn their degree. Let's put the needs of our students first. I want to give you an example of an institution you know a little bit about. Mayo Clinic, Rochester, Minnesota. Arguably the best in medical care perhaps in the world, certainly in America. Their mission statement is very simple. The needs of the patient come first. Substitute the needs of the student comes first for Missouri. In our family business, Silver Dollar City, we are successful in large measure because we keep a very, very sharp focus on what the customer needs. If you have a business that puts your own needs above those of your customers, you will not long be in business, unless, of course, you are protected by a law. As lawmakers, Missouri's, our people, our economy, this is your business. Why would you support restrictions on state universities that desire to do the right thing to meet the needs and demands of their students? The state of Missouri should not be in the business of playing favorites. We should not thwart time-tested private enterprise principles of supply and demand. If that sounds harsh, it's intended. The unlevel playing field should not be allowed to continue. it is a loser because it is not good for the people of this state. It is not good for the workforce development in this state, and it is not good for the economy of this state. I urge you to vote do pass on Senate Bill 11. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony and for coming up. Any questions? See none. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Anyone else to testify in support? Okay. Anyone to testify in opposition? If we could be extremely brief, I know the senator has appropriations to get to.
Thank you. Morning.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Jim Spain. I am Vice Provost for Undergraduate Studies at Mizzou. I am a professor at the University of Missouri in Animal Science, and I am in my 35th year serving your university for Missouri. I've helped mentor and graduate thousands of students. I've run my own research lab and graduated master's and PhD students, and I've been an ardent champion for Mizzou's land grant and flagship mission in serving Missourians. I'm here today to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 11 because the passage of this bill will require additional financial resources, be it from the state or from student tuition. It does increase the cost of education in the state of Missouri. In 2018, this legislature passed the Swim Bills Act, or law. This law allows all Missouri Public University the options to partner with the University of Missouri system on professional and doctoral programs in research-intensive areas such as medicine, pharmacy, and engineering. The intent of that bill at the time was to ensure Missouri taxpayers get the most for their money and limit costly duplications. This process, called degree partnerships, has worked exactly as it was intended to and has saved Missourians tens of millions of dollars. It has created significant economic and workforce development across the state. Because of this effective legislation, Missouri State now offers 10 doctoral degree programs, bless you, as well as a regional partnership with System for medical, pharmacy, and engineering degrees in Springfield. The current law that's in place now avoids the hiring of additional administrators and specialized faculty and staff, and avoids the costly, expensive new facilities that could eventually result in and would likely result in increased cost of tuition for Missouri students. The current law works. SB11 has been offered as a free market solution, but the true market requires performance funding to reward schools with the highest graduation rates, highest retention rates, and highest job placement rates. True free market will also allow our community colleges to offer four-year degrees. There's been a fair bit of discussion this morning about workforce development. The greatest workforce development need is at the community college and the four-year degree level, and not at the PhD level. Taxpayers already contribute an amazing $1 billion to higher education. All of our public universities are grateful and benefit from that. SB11 would require duplication of existing resources and capabilities. Our law has been described as most restrictive. Is it most restrictive or most effective? Is it most efficient for the state of Missouri and the Missourians that we all serve? The bottom line is that starting doctoral programs at public universities without research foundations will require significant state support. Those costs in turn will reduce state support to all other public universities unless we are willing to increase the size of the proverbial pie. Over the last 5 years, we've seen a reduction in enrollment across the state. Only 2 universities in Missouri have seen growth over that time, Mizzou and Northwest Missouri State University. Given the demographic shifts combined with limited state and federal resources, public universities need to focus on student recruitment, student graduation, and student placement. As I mentioned, the greatest needs in workforce development are at the community college and undergraduate degree program, not at the graduate level. By increasing the flow of or supply of graduate levels, we're going to be contributing to the inflation of degree requirements, and we would question the employment demand and the long-term demand for PhDs. With dwindling enrollment, it is now prudent to allow every four-year public university to offer degrees that cost millions of dollars, and in some case hundreds of millions of dollars to establish. We would hope that the committee would agree with us. The answer is no, but we would rather encourage to focus the outcomes of higher education for the state, especially encouraging the success of those students who are entering our campuses now, rather than duplicating expensive degree programs. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Yes,
Any
sir.
questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Anyone else to testify in opposition? And if we could, please, let's not continue to cover the same grounds. It'd be greatly appreciated.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Senate Committee. My name is Chuck Brazil. I currently serve as the chair of the flagship, the board of the University of Missouri Flagship Council, and our statewide organization, and here I'm on record in opposition to Senate Bill 11. I will not, Mr. Chairman, repeat several things there, and thank you, sir, and I'll speed up. As Dr. Spain just mentioned, the legislation approved in 2018, signed into law by the governor, states that the university is the sole provider of only public research university and the exclusive grantor of research doctorates, and that should remain. The University of Missouri Flagship Council strongly supports the provisions in current state statute and strongly opposes any attempt to repeal these provisions. Again, as Dr. Spain just alluded to in his testimony, the system has a proven record of collaboration and partnering with other institutions, including Missouri State University, in several programs to establish new doctoral and professional degree programs needed to meet the workforce demands. There were some folders distributed to you. If you have a chance to look at those, you'll find that the University of Missouri system footprint for your district in there. Each district has a footprint of what the university does. It also includes information is funding for public higher education programs, per capita support by state in fiscal year 2025. You might note, if you look through that data, that there are only 5 states with funding lower than the state of Missouri. 5 states that are lower. Adding the additional doctoral and professional degree programs, again, as Dr. Spain and others may have testified, is costly and would dramatically increase tuition, perhaps for Missouri students, and adds significant cost. I appreciate it, Chairman, for the opportunity to testify in opposition.
Thank you very much. Any questions? See none. Thank you. Anyone else to testify in opposition? I don't want to institute time restraint, but we're almost to that point, so if we could be very brief.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. My name is Carson Hough. I'm a senior at the University of Missouri St. Louis, not Columbia, just want to specify that. And thank you so much for the opportunity to testify today, especially as a student in this debate. I am also serving as the Associated Students of the University of Missouri's co-legislative director. We represent the over 70,000 students, which is a little over 52% of Missouri undergraduate students. And we are firmly against this piece of legislation today and worries about the costs of our tuition increasing as well as our devaluing of our existing programs. So as an UMSL student and as a student in the UM system, I see a lot of the investments that comes from the state and comes from the UM system that goes to us. We have in our doctoral programs incredible support for our students, whether that's internships, access to networking, generally fantastic research opportunities that you cannot find sometimes anywhere else in the country. And it equips us as students not just with the tools to succeed in the classroom, but to succeed in our future goals, whether that's staying here in Missouri or moving on to other places around the world. But we also have a lot of challenges. Everybody does. And our most primary one is, as always, cost. A lot of what we've talked about today from members of committee and from some of the folks who've testified before me is just how expensive these programs are. But I want to specifically touch on how expensive it is for our students. A lot of our students who are in these doctoral programs receive assistantships or waivers that generally cover anywhere from half to all of their tuition. This is not cheap, to put it mildly. And what often happens is that our programs start to struggle, especially in trying to keep up with, like, I go to UMSL, so I have to compete with Harris Stowe, Wash U, SLU, all of these major St. Louis organizations. We have to compete against that. And so we have to raise our costs to try and match them, to try and match their programs. And frankly, we're struggling. At UMSL alone, our PhD, our folks in PhD enrollment have decreased by over 50% in just the last decade alone. And this isn't just the costs. There's obviously a myriad of issues like the decreasing number of high school graduates and the uncertainty in state funding and federal funding for our doctoral programs. But these problems themselves just make general day-to-day operations of these programs that much harder. And to add on to the additional cost of allowing similar programs to be created throughout the state at any college or university, that makes us as students deeply concerned. Because it asks just one question of who's actually paying for this. Because I know there's been a lot of talk about no state dime is going anywhere near this or anything like that. Then who does it pay? Who's paying for it? We are. We're paying for that either directly through our tuition being increased, or we're paying for it indirectly through our programs being cut or watered down. And these programs are opportunities for our students to get ahead above everybody else in the union, above everybody else in the world, frankly. And so I'm here today to remind all of you that we, the students, are paying attention. This is scary for all of us. We do not want this to happen. And I urge all of you to please vote no on Senate Bill 11. Thank you, and I stand open for any questions.
Any questions? See none. Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else to testify in opposition? Okay. Anyone to testify for informational purposes only? Okay. Senator, closing remarks?
Nope. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the time from the committee this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. That'll conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 11. We're going to move into the presentation. So whoever would like to start that presentation, please. Well, I guess let the room clear, and then we'll start with the presentation. So am I going to be the only guy left? Oh, thanks.
You got several approach members on this committee, Mr. Chair. Can I just tell Tom what I'm voting, or how does he tell you?
So can I, yeah, that's fine. Can I text and let you know we're moving into it to see if you'd be able to pull away?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't I do that? Good. Because it will be just kind of difficult to get seconds and move things that we're going to. If I just have it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Just wait for your text to come back.
If you don't mind.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yes, sorry. I know it's.
I get it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you. That's exactly right. Let's do it. All right, we're going to go ahead and begin the presentation. So thank you to everybody for your patience. Go ahead and begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senators. How much time do I have? 10?
If we could keep it, yeah, I mean, 10, 15, 20 for the whole thing at max, please. Yeah,
Thanks, Mr. Chair. That works for me. You have a packet before you, and I want to just highlight what's in there. There's a highlight sheet for your state. Then there's a slide deck, which I'm going to be working from. And then we have user lists here as well for both our contracts and our
Please remember to
program.
fill out a witness form before, I apologize, I'm not trying to.
Pardon?
A witness form that, you can do that after the fact, but before we leave. Oh, perfect, thank you.
And then we have user lists, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to work from the slide deck. My name is Susan Heegard. I'm the president of the Midwestern Higher Education Compact, or of course, as you know, in higher education, loves its acronym, so MEC, M-H-E-C. And what a beautiful day. Thank you for the opportunity to present today in your committee. I'm here for our annual state visit. We visit all 12 states in the compact in the Midwest Census region. So this is our 5th state visit during the best time of the year. And I want to just kind of highlight some key points from the slide deck. Our purpose is to work in partnership with the 12 member states. And for those of you that aren't familiar with compacts, a compact basically has its roots in the U.S. Constitution, allows one state to do business with one or more other states without the federal government's involvement, unless you're shipping nuclear waste across state lines or something like that. So hunting, fishing, dentistry, our compact is focused on higher education and cost savings specifically. We have, as I mentioned, 12 states. We were founded in 1991 through the Council of State Governments, and Missouri joined right around the beginning then. There are 60 commissioners, so I have 60 bosses. Half are legislators or governor's policy advisors or executive branch folks, and then half are higher ed leaders. And our annual state commitment, we're very grateful for that. Thank you. It's $115,000, and that's the lowest of the 4 interstate compacts. Moving to the Missouri Commissioners, I'm lucky to be joined, I believe, behind me, Samantha Dickey, who's with the Missouri Department of Higher Ed, and David Pierce, who was our former chair and senator, of course, here. We also have Representative Christ, Susan Thomas, the president of Truman State University, and then Senator Trent. We met with him yesterday. So as I mentioned, we focus on cost savings in particular. We have 2 sides of our business, our cost savings programs and contracts, and then policy and research. The thing that I really want to highlight is the strong ROI that you get as a state for your $115,000 commitment. It's $9.8 million every year, and that's a pretty good return. So $3 million of that are savings on technology for Missouri entities through contracts with Dell, Oracle, Xerox, Campus Guard, and others. Think of it as bulk purchasing. So what we are able to do is, because we're an instrumentality of state government, we're in your statute, we're able to stand in the shoes of the contractor and basically eliminate that time that's involved with issuing an RFP. We do all that work, it's turnkey and ready to go, and then there's also savings that occur from that bulk purchase, on average about 10%. We also help provide savings to the state in another way, really through the institutions in the state, through something called the State Authorization Reciprocity Agreement. So that's about $3.2 million. Before that particular program, if you were a little or a big institution and you wanted to offer a distance ed program in another state, you had to register in every state. Now you just have to do it once through us, as long as you meet quality assurance standards. So it's really opened up opportunities for many, many students. And then finally, there's a savings piece that goes right to students. That's about $3.6 million. That's the Interstate Reciprocity Program in the Midwest. That's becoming less and less relevant as institutions and states are eliminating out-of-state tuition. So we're taking a hard look at that program. We're not afraid to sunset stuff or start it up. A couple highlights of programs that we make available. We really pride ourselves on our convening capacity, bringing people together to troubleshoot and solve difficult problems. So one area would be, of course, the FAFSA, the Federal Application for Student Financial Aid. I filled it out for my 8th time. That was a well-intended effort by Republican Senator Lamar Alexander to simplify the FAFSA, but the rollout was just dreadful. And so we pulled folks together across the Midwest to try to figure out how to support students and families to fill out that form. We also were involved with pulling folks together to discuss best practices on concurrent enrollment and dual enrollment. I know that's a very big interest here in Missouri, so we've been focused on that. And then another area would be open education resources. I know at the department they've helped kind of spearhead some work across the state, but with the cost of textbooks increasing, those alternate course materials that are free to the student have been increasingly important, and we got a grant to support that work. So I wanted to then share some data with you, and that begins on page 4 of your packet. And basically what we wanted to do is just highlight some key data points and ways in which you can look at your state. If you have other things you'd like us to present later and deliver to you, we'd be happy to do that. But we felt that it would be important to at least kind of highlight some of the different data points. And we've run this by the folks we've met with during our 2 days here. So attainment. What attainment is actually the measure of people in your state who have some credential, could be a certificate, could be a master's degree in your state, beyond high school. So in your state, this graph would show that the percentage of 25 to 64-year-olds in Missouri who have attained a post-secondary credential, that is something after high school, is 52%, and that just tracks slightly below the national average. Some of your counties would be way above that, and some would be below that, but that's an average. Then if you flip the page over, you'll see a horizontal graph that's sort of colored, and I really like this slide a lot because it breaks out where those degrees fall, especially in light of the previous discussion. So, you know, I think when you think about where the degrees fall, you want to have a broadly educated workforce. You want techs and you want engineers, right? So this really would show you 7% of your folks don't have a high school diploma, 27% do, 13% have some college or some education but no degree, and I want to talk about that in a moment. 4 and 3% there, the violet and the green, are folks with a certificate, 22% with a 4-year degree, or 9% with a 2-year degree, 22% with a 4-year degree, and then 13% beyond. This key population, though, the red, that's 13%, that might represent a mom who's taken some time off to raise her children and hasn't gone back yet, but it also could be a student who's gotten very poor advice, has lost their way, racked up a bunch of debt, and now doesn't even have a degree to show for it. And as you know, that's a serious problem, and I know that there's some folks at the department who are looking hard at that population, trying to troubleshoot and find some solutions there, because it's very expensive. The next slide is an enrollment slide, and we do show this slide in all the states that we work in the Midwest. So in your state, very typical with the rest of the Midwest, except for North Dakota, they're the one state that's growing because of the oil industry and the affiliated businesses there. Your high school graduate pool is projected to decrease in Missouri over the coming decade, with increases in white graduates and small increases in non-white graduates. That's just another lens. For example, like in Kansas, their fastest growing population is Latino in the southwest corner of the state. Then with respect to enrollment on slide 11, and you've heard a little bit about this also, these are averages again, and there's a 2-year lag in the data. Some of your institutions in Missouri are seeing an uptick in enrollment and some a downtick in enrollment. Again, this is an average, but your undergraduate enrollment at Missouri public 2-year colleges has declined since 2010-11, so over the last decade, compared to more recent decline at public 4-year institutions. So the question there is, you know, why is that? Some of it's birth rate, some of it may be during the pandemic, you know, people just didn't go, and now they've chosen not to go back because they're working. But there are a number of reasons why that enrollment has declined. On the next slide, this shows in and out migration from your state. And I also understand that for Missouri, you are seeing now, this data is 2 years old. That's kind of the best that we can get from an aggregate level, but there's seeing some uptick in the migration in again. But this would show a year out that more students migrate out than migrate in, but it's a very small difference. But you can see Illinois loses a lot of students. Probably a lot come here from Illinois. If you flip the page over to these vertical charts, this shows you that frankly, if your students do leave Missouri, they stay in the Midwest. The 11% stay in the Midwest, and then a very small percentage go south or head to a coast or something like that. There's a very interesting project that's going on, I know that the department's part of, and that's with the Census Bureau. And really, a year out is not going to tell you a lot. What really tells you something is 5 and 10 years out. I know in my own family, we left and we all came back to our home state eventually to be near my mom and dad when we raised our families. So that's a really interesting project with the Census Bureau that also shows some wage data. What kind of wages can you expect with certain degrees, and what kind of jobs do certain degrees lead to? Then I wanted to share with you some information on price, and net price is what the student pays. So you'd pull out from federal aid, you'd pull out state scholarships, and then any institutional aid that may come from a public or a private college. So for your two-year colleges, again, there's a lag in this data, the average net price for low-income students, so those would be, we picked two groups. The folks that are at $30,000, that's kind of Pell Grant eligible, and then those are at $110,000 or more. So the average net price for those low-income students at Missouri Public 2 years is higher than the Midwest and National, but lower than your border states, and that's really what you want to pay attention to. Because if you're going to lose students, it's right to those border states. So Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, and Oklahoma. And then for four-year colleges, a little bit less competitive, higher than the Midwest and National, but lower than Arkansas and Iowa. And we had some questions at our dinner last night about this. For example, like in Illinois, why, what's going on there? And part of it is if it's a state that has a very significant need-based grant program, that's going to make the cost lower for some students. So with that, knowing that you have a busy agenda, I'm very happy to respond to questions from anybody. I also wanted to draw your attention to our user list. So this would show you who uses that distance ed program and then the folks that use our contracts. You can use our contracts if you're a school, K-12 school district, a higher ed institution, public or private, or a local unit of government. We also have offerings in student health. Missouri doesn't participate in that, and we're looking at a captive insurance program. We're exploring that as well. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for the information. It's very, very helpful. Do you have any questions?
No, I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, if we had heard that before the last bill, it probably would have provided some very useful information and maybe grounded in some facts. So
it was actually, I was torn on what to do first. I maybe should have pulled the trigger on this one first. So,
no, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
I appreciate you very much. Thank you. Anyone else to testify or give any information? No? All right. Well, thank you very much. That will conclude the presentation. We are going to move to, I believe, Fitz left. Oh, Gregory, there you are. Okay. Let's go ahead and move into your bill. Proceed when you're ready, Senator.
Mr. Chair and dignified member of the committee, happy to have you here. I saw everyone in here earlier. I thought they were here for my bill, Senate Bill 460. I knew they weren't, obviously. So for the record, Curtis Gregory, State Senator, 21st District. Before you is Senate Bill 460. It's an add-on to a piece of legislation I was able to get across the finish line. I believe it was in 2023 that allowed ride-sharing companies, better known as TNCs, Transportation Networking Companies, to help in transporting kids to school. Learned that there's some issues with many different kids not knowing where the bus stop is going to be, if they're staying at mom's house or aunt's house, or maybe they've got issues with riding the bus, and this allows them another way to get to school. I think it's a great program. I've talked with the people that are involved in it, and they said it's working as planned, but the problem comes with background checks. I think they're very smart that if we're going to have people transporting kids, they need to have a background check to make sure they're not nefarious in any means, way, shape, or form. The way the program currently works for background checks has to go through a school district, and they're footing the bill for it. This would allow such ride-sharing companies to do the background checks themselves, and that's what we're trying to accomplish with this, to make sure we can get more people in the marketplace, transport our kids, and keep them safe. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, to me, after reading the bill, I mean, this just makes sense. You're getting a background check from the same place, but currently you have to go through an in-road or in-round through another organization to achieve the same thing. So I think this just makes sense. Any questions? We're on Senate Bill 460. Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Anyone to testify in support, please come forward. Please remember to fill out a witness form too. You can leave it up there. It's fine. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Lauren Hulse with Hop Skip Drive. It's a technology company that helps get students, connect students with caregivers on wheels. So we currently operate in 14 states, partnering with around 600 school districts, nonprofits, and government agencies. And we launched in Missouri in the 23-24 school year. We're currently partnering with around 26 districts in charter schools, helping them get their students to and from school. And since we've started, we were trying to navigate this issue of the fingerprint background check efficiency issue. Other pupil transportation companies are able to do the checks themselves, but because we use contracted drivers as opposed to employed drivers, we're having to rely on district partners, which is an administrative burden on them. And so this bill would allow us to apply to the Highway Patrol to be a qualified entity in order to receive FBI fingerprint background check results and review them ourselves, such as we're able to do in other states where we operate. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Next witness to testify in favor? Seeing none. Anyone here to testify in opposition? Seeing none. Anyone to testify for informational purposes only? Seeing none. Senator, do you have any closing remarks?
I wish I could have gone first. Thank you for hearing the bill.
Duly noted. Next, we will hear Senate Bill 265, sponsored by Senator Fitzwater. Senator, thank you for being here. Begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Travis Fitzwater, 10th District, bringing Senate Bill 265 before you. This is a STEM Career Awareness Activity Fund. And the genesis of this is the district, school in my district, and I think they're here to talk to you. Science coach, and this kind of opened my eyes to what's happening in our high schools. But they have students that are doing some amazing things in the STEM field in high school. And you're getting young kids who don't know what their limits are, that are inserting themselves into some really interesting spaces and finding things that people who have been in the scientific community for a long time can't do because they have limits on what they think they can accomplish. It's really incredible. And I hope they'll bring up one particular story where some cancer research done by some students help move the needle on helping patients. It's pretty incredible. Anyway, I've always kind of been a STEM focused. How do we get opportunities into middle schools and high schools for STEM careers? This opens up the door for funding opportunities like this that we see in some of my school districts that have just gone so phenomenally well to give kids an opportunity to see what they can accomplish in the marketplace, what directions they could choose in these STEM career fields, and it's just try to open up pathways for them to know what's available in the marketplace, because I don't think we do a great job of exposing that to them earlier on. So that's what this is. I know there's at least one witness that I really look forward to you all hearing, but I think we've got to get these STEM careers in front of these kids at an earlier age so they know what's available to them when they're moving into college.
Any questions? Seeing none. Anyone to testify in support, please come forward. Please remember to fill out a witness form.
Good morning. My name is Jill Ott. I'm the inventor, co-founder, and chief executive officer of Science Coach. We started back in 2007 with the purpose of creating future scientists. We support 6th through 12th grade students and their teachers and everything that they need in order to do original research. The STEM Career Awareness Activity Bill is very important to us because it is a tool by which teachers, especially in rural areas, have access to additional support. So one of the things that is important is that when you are teaching or when you're exposing kids to careers, giving them a video, it's very short, but it moves the needle on who wants to actually go into that career very little. If you do a hands-on activity, that moves a little bit more. If you do job shadowing, but when you do a year-long research project that's an original research where you really take a deep dive into it, what happens is you actually discover that you love that particular career. And that is reason why 89% of our students end up going into a STEM career. So let me say that again. When you have students do an original research project in high school, 89% of those go into a STEM career. There's a lot of research that I can tell you about that substantiates that a student who does a research project, that is actually the best factor for predicting a STEM degree completer. So you want a workforce, and you want a workforce that knows how to strategically think, they know how to plan, they know how to critically think and work in a collaborative manner. That is all of what they learn in an experiential way. So the research that they do can be anything, and like Senator Fitzwater was saying, we have students that are doing research, whether it's cancer research to agriculture. The reality of it is, when you have a student who doesn't know what they can't do, they often discover something that nobody else can do. We had a student develop a patch that you actually put on your arm, and that can tell you whether or not you have Alzheimer's. Now, up to that point, you have to do a dissection on the brain to confirm that you have Alzheimer's, which is really inconvenient for somebody who's alive. So those types of not knowing what you can and can't do, it doesn't start when they go into college. It doesn't start when they go into a doctoral program. It starts in 6th grade. And it builds, because STEM knowledge, unlike most other knowledge, it is very accumulative. You have to learn the basic math before you go on to the advanced math, and all of the different sciences are cumulative. So the fact that this is an activity-focused bill is really important, because it's not just, here's a video, watch this, maybe you want to be an engineer. It's, here are problems that really exist in the engineering world right now. Here's a framework for how to think about it. And then here's coaches who will help you to turn that into a real research project, like real researchers do, and then present it in different competitions where the students begin to identify as a STEM able and capable person, and that's what generates future scientists. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you for your testimony and your presentation. Any questions? Senator, proceed.
Not really a question, just a quick statement. I agree with what you're saying, because we kind of went through this in the late 90s one time with STEM when it was coming there, and the same thing is kind of true if you're doing authentic research, such as in your English classes, if you're doing authentic research there, we find the same level of success. So thank you for the information.
There's actually a 12-year longitudinal study that was looking at over 300,000 STEM providers. Again, over 12 years, what were the primary factors that actually predicted a STEM degree completer? Number one was if they did an authentic research in high school. And if you were female, that was twice as important. Number two factor was a feeling of belonging. If you can see yourself in labs, in these settings, then you can head that direction. If you were trying to address enticing underrepresented minorities, that feeling of belonging is not just nice, it's vital. So the impact that doing an authentic research project does is really important. And when you're in rural schools, most of the time they don't even have supplies for regular science. So having the ability to have a solution to directly drive workforce into the STEM, and we even have programs that directly connect specific careers like medical laboratory science and engineering and nursing specifically to authentic research, has actually increased the participation in that one particular career from a low of 29% to a high of 84%. So students who didn't know what they were going to go into, after going through a career-intensive connection to an authentic research called our Science Coach Pipeline, it actually has driven people specifically into that career. So it builds a workforce in a documented way.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anyone else to testify in support, please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Sarah Schlemer here on behalf of BioSTL and Next Missouri. We would like to go on record in support of this legislation. Next Missouri is a support group for and coalition for entrepreneurs across the state, and we see a STEM workforce is vitally needed to keep these companies putting their roots in Missouri and growing here. So I would like to thank the sponsor for bringing this forward and just echo our support.
Okay. Any questions? See none. Thank you very much. Anyone else testify in support? Please remember to fill out a witness form.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Cade Tremaine. I'm here today on behalf of the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry to testify in support of the bill. Shedding more light on STEM-related careers is a necessary investment for Missouri to become a competitive force in the STEM climate. In our most recent Technology 2030 report, we found that a 5-year decline in STEM program completions has actually brought us to 47th in the United States for STEM program completions overall. Although biomedical sciences and physical sciences have actually seen an increase in program completions, it is engineering programs and computer information programs that have either seen inconsistent or decreasing completions overall. Also, in our Technology 2030 report, we found that roughly 38% of graduates who are entering STEM-related fields stay in that field for work. Research from the Computing Technology Industry Association has also highlighted that roughly 6 in 10 prospective STEM workers believe that there is a major barrier to them pursuing a career specifically in technology. Some of those barriers are concern over perceived lack of math or science skills, concern over not having a 4-year degree, or simply that the belief is training is too costly. So without establishing this kind of program, Missouri will continue to fall behind other states, and we will not be able to have that sort of robust STEM climate that we are looking for. We know that Missouri needs to continue producing talented STEM graduates, and this is a major step in that direction, so I'm happy to take questions from the committee.
All right, any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else testify in support? Okay. Anyone testify in opposition? Please come forward. Seeing none, informational purposes only. Okay, seeing none. Senator, closing remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, that'll conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 265. We're going to move to Senator Henderson's Senate Bill 556. Please begin when you're ready, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. For the record, Mike Henderson, State Senator from the 3rd Senatorial District. Senate Bill 556 deals with 3 queuing, and let me tell you what we're talking about is reading. Probably the most important factor for any student's success is their reading skills. The 3 Qs are dealing with semantics, syntactic, and graphonic, and it's hard to get out here, but basically the 3 different ways. So sympathetic is using context, grammatical features, and letters and sounds. 2 years ago, the General Assembly passed Senate Bill 681, aka the reading bill, and within 681 there was a provision prohibiting the 3 queuing system because of creating confusion in trying to get kids to read. What Senate Bill 556 does is it clarifies 3 queuing is not to be used as the primary system for teaching reading. It could work with a few students to get them over the bump is what we're saying, but it should not be your main. It reinforces what was in Senate Bill 681 to make sure we know they can't use that as their main system of reading. And it was something that we did use probably 25, 30 years ago at times. While I spent my career in education, I am not a reading expert. As you can see, I had trouble getting some of the words out even in here. But we have some witnesses here who will try to explain this a little bit further, but I'd happy to try to answer any questions.
All right, so any questions for the sponsor? Okay, seeing none. Anyone to testify in support? Please come forward. Remember to fill out a witness form.
Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Senate Bill 556. My name is Jim Malley. I'm the Missouri Director of Policy for Aligned. We believe this legislation is a significant step forward in the right direction for all public school students to have the foundational skills for reading. I'm here to answer any questions.
All right, any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Anyone else testify in support? Please come forward.
Hello, committee. My name is Jordan Zachary. I'm here with ExcelNet in Action. We're a nonprofit founded by Governor Jeb Bush that focuses on student-centered education policies. We too rise in support of this bill. Just a few comments about 3Qing. 3Qing, it teaches kids to rely on context clues instead of phonics-based instruction. This would be something along the lines, if you have a word like lion and you cue a student to look at a picture of a lion instead of decoding the word lion. A few other comments I just want to share from our early literacy team when they looked through some data. It's that with the most recent NAEP scores, it is alarming nationwide and also in Missouri. We're seeing that 42% of Missouri fourth grade readers and 35% of eighth grade readers are at below the basic level, and only 27% of fourth graders and 26% of eighth graders are at or above proficiency. Additionally, Missouri fourth graders in 1992 outperformed their peers by a half a grade level, and in 2024 they performed below the national level by half a grade level. All this to say is that banning of 3Qing is part of the process that many states have used to improve their literacy outcomes over the last several years. I look at one state like Louisiana, which was the second state to remove 3Qing from the primary mode of instruction in the classroom, and they saw the highest gains in reading in NAEP. Again, it's not the only piece. It's part of a plan, part of many pieces to improve literacy outcomes. 14 states have enacted restrictions on 3Qing instruction. Missouri has already started down the path, I think it was mentioned earlier, of offering many great additional supports and trainings for teachers in the science of reading and evidence-based instruction, which is crucial for student outcomes. And the state is doing well to go down the right path. This would just be a strong next step to ensure that students are receiving evidence-based instruction and outcomes go in the right direction. And I want to thank you all for your time, and I'm open to any questions as well.
All right, thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anyone else to testify in support of the bill? Okay, seeing none. Anyone to testify in opposition? Seeing none. Informational purposes. Oh, are you in opposition? Yes. Okay.
Senators Craig Carson, Assistant Superintendent Learning in Ozark, Missouri. I serve on the Missouri Literacy Committee that we have a meeting going on right now, so I will make this quick. The Ozark School District thanks Senator Henderson for his desire to ensure public school children, every public school child in the state gets good reading instruction. We completely agree, and each child deserves that. Albeit the best intentions of this bill, the Ozark School District opposes for a couple of reasons. The guiding light for Senate Bill 681 and many in the past have been that we have better early literacy to ensure all kids read while still allowing some school districts and some teachers some instructional choice. The Senate worked hard to ensure great literacy instruction is codified around the state with science of reading, and we're glad they did that. I currently serve on the Literacy Advisory Board, and we're going to hear today how letters training and science of reading is the instructional priority within public schools. Since schools have implemented letters and other resources DESE's deployed as a result of 681, literacy instruction has changed. Districts are working hard to help all students read and write. In my own Orton-Gillingham training, I was taught to make sure students are paying attention to all letters and syllables, the onset, rhyme. Teachers will ask a student when decoding words to look at the word or syllable. We ask questions like, what do you notice? What patterns do you see? What sounds does a letter make? We're making sure students are visually monitoring the structure of the words. We're also continually asking students to look at the print. During sentence making, we are monitoring students' ability to structurally write. As we teach reading, decoding, phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, we also ask kids to attend to comprehension. To teach comprehension, we will ask if it makes sense or not. What is the meaning of what you just read? Those kinds of questions aren't just 3 cueing system questions. They're actually central to teaching reading and science of reading, or however you're going to teach it. So we adjust our instruction for each learner while following the science of reading Scarborough's reading rope. In our district right now, we have a 3rd grader who just moved in. She came in at a kindergarten reading level. She is not on an IP. She's not on a 504. Within 6 months, thankfully, she's now reading at a 2nd grade reading level. It's not where we want her, but it's a huge leap in this year. But it's taken a classroom instruction and an Orton-Gillingham trained reading interventionist to help her make that progress. The interventionist who is working with this young child needs every tool in her toolbox. She is using structured literacy as well as helping the student use meaning, syntax, and visual clues. And we need her to have accelerated progress. 1 year's amount of growth is not enough for this young child. And for her to have that kind of progress, our interventionist needs to use all the science when teaching the student to read. This bill takes those instructional moves away from the teacher. I believe her teacher and the interventionist need to use the science of reading to teach her, in addition to asking her to pay attention to what she notices about the semantics and syntax and the graphophonemics. As written, the bill is just too broad. It impedes on teachers using our current DESE model of reading instruction. We need teachers to monitor and adjust instruction to each individual child based on what they know about the student's use of meaning, structure, and syntax within the 5 pillars of reading, phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. Thus, Ozark opposes this bill.
So you're in favor of the DESE model that we currently have in?
I'm not arguing against the DESE model. We use it currently, but the way this is written, it's just too broad. It says you can't, it would make teachers really conflicted when we want them to ask students about meaning. We want them to ask students about structure. We want them to, as they're trying to teach, we want them to ask questions that explore. We want them to look at the words, and we also want to figure out what the student's not picking up. The way this is written, it seems too broad and too vague, and it puts us in a bad spot. If a student is looking at the word wind, it could be wind or it could be wind. Well, they can go through that word and they can pronounce that word and look at all the letters, but they have to also say, well, what does that make sense? Wind really doesn't make sense when you're talking about wind the clock. You're supposed to wind the clock. And so it just puts us in a precarious situation the way it's worded.
Well, I just know from my daughter being severely dyslexic, going through Orton-Gillingham, I just know going to the public school that they didn't even detect the fact that she was even dyslexic in any way, and even said that she was doing great in her reading skills.
Well, I hope that 681 has corrected some of that. I really do. And I think it has, and I'll spend the rest of the day with the Literacy Advisory Board, but I hope that has been the case.
Well, I just, where I disagree, I know the senator probably has some remarks, just in looking at the proficiency scores of reading currently, they continue to plummet and go down. I just don't know if it's really working. So, Senator, did you have?
While he's here, I wanted to say one thing. If you remember, I sent you a substitute, and he may be working off the original because this one says it doesn't ban it completely, but it clarifies it can't be used as your primary system. Because he's talking about English second language learners. A lot of times are using the 3 queuing, is my understanding, for some of those students and some of this. And so it doesn't ban it completely, but it does say it can't be your primary reason, and that might help with the situation he's got. Okay. Did you see the substitute?
I just saw what was on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? See none. Thank you very much. Anyone else to testify in opposition? All right. Informational purposes only. Are you in opposition too? Okay. I want to make sure.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Aldo Fajan on behalf of Missouri NEA. Had a great chance to talk with the sponsor of this bill yesterday. As some of you may recall, we were heavily involved in crafting Senate Bill 681. We are firmly committed to implementing it, and we think that it already provides the structure in law that is necessary. We're open to discuss the language that relates to 3 queuing, because certainly moving away from an over-reliance on 3 queuing as a primary method of literacy instruction at the beginning was something the bill was trying to move away from. So I guess what we'd also point out is that there are a lot of tools in place that bill provides that will help create the structure to continue that improvement. As was mentioned, the advisory council created by Senate Bill 681 is meeting today. They always have the ability, and that's not a temporary thing, that's an ongoing advisory council. It will be reviewing how the implementation of the bill is going, and it can always make recommendations back to the joint committee through the commissioner if there are needs for additional legislation. So we do have that built into this, and really the priority of 681 was in creating supports for beginning and active teachers. So I just want to remind the committee we have a lot of tools in place. We think that if there's a need for something that the legislature can help support, that is in sending a message to DESE about what is really important. It's important to understand the conflicting messages that school systems are getting right now. And we just want to thank the committee. Last week you all voted out Senate Bill 360, which really pulls apart the federal testing mandates from accreditation. Because right now the federal government is telling the schools what really matters is those 3rd through 8th grade communication arts and mathematics scores. And what Senate Bill 681 is telling them is what really matters is K through 3 literacy. And so to the extent that that can be clarified, and we believe Senate Bill 360 really does that, we think that actually creates a structure where we're seeing improvement. We're seeing improvement through the work of the department, through the training of our teachers in the LETTERS program. But we think that it's most important for the legislature to move forward on separating out and being clear about what's really important in the classroom. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? See none.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else testify in support? Or informational purposes, I apologize, that's what I meant.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. Perry Gorel, Chief Governmental Relations for the department. I think it's important for we have a bit of clarification. We at the department have done some extensive work in the implementation of Senate Bill 681. I have with me here today the coordinator of our literacy program, or the Office of Literacy, who may be able to answer any questions that you all may have in regards to our letters training. We've trained over 11,000 teachers across the state at this time in the implementation of Senate Bill 681. We believe that legislation is very important to us in improving our rating scores across the state of Missouri. And so if you don't have any other questions of me, I'm going to actually allow her to come up here and you can ask her questions as it is into the implementation of Senate Bill 681.
That's fine. Well, hold on. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. Yeah, definitely you'll have to fill out your own witness form and everything when you do testify. Please come forward.
Hello, Heather Knight, Coordinator of Literacy at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. I wanted to just start just with some information. Specifically what we're talking about is the decoding process. And decoding requires explicit instruction in phonics. And I think that that is a clarification that we need to make, that the 3 cueing system does not align with evidence-based reading instruction when we're speaking about decoding. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I apologize, sorry.
That's okay.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else to testify for informational purposes? Okay, seeing none. Senator, closing remarks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, that concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 556. I make a motion that we move into executive session. I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. We're in executive session. All right, I make a motion that we take up Senate Bill 243. I have a second. I make a motion that we vote Senate Bill 243 do pass. Okay. Any discussion? Senator, do you have any? Nope. All right. Good bill. Mr. Secretary, take the roll.
Bratton.
Aye.
Hudson. Gregory. Henderson. Nurrenbern. Schroer. Weber.
All right, the motion passes. I make a motion that we take up Senate Bill 276. Can I get a second? I got a second. Okay. All those, I make a motion that we adopt the Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 276. Can I get a second? Second. Okay, got a second. All right, discussion. So Senator Coleman distributed a substitute, and I actually asked her to come up if she wanted to explain it. Had a substantial amount of changes to it. If you wanted to kind of just explain it.
Thank you, Senators. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. The primary changes were to make sure that the school districts themselves are responsible for ensuring compliance with existing law, and that only those who are taxpayers in the district are able to file complaints to prevent any sort of trolling that might take place. So to limit this to the efforts of people in the district. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Just a question. Would you speak a little bit to the penalties that are in the bill now?
Sure. So these are modeled off of the sunshine provisions to make sure that citizens who are taxpayers in the district have a way to be able to ensure that there is compliance. Right now, as we stated, and the witnesses testified in support of the bill, that these materials are all currently illegal, but people are saying that they're not responsible. So by designating someone who is responsible and then having penalty provisions attached to that, we're ensuring compliance.
Okay, and again, anybody, so the part that I'm going to, causes me a little pause, Senator, is the part of, not the wanton misconduct, if you will, but just simply the negligence piece. If somebody's not aware, but they happen to serve on a board, that suit can be brought. And then again, we're looking at in terms of damages, awarding damages, any other damages or remedy which is in the judgment of the court shall be appropriate. So some of that could get rather costly. So that's the part that's causing me pause, quite frankly, are the penalty provisions right now. So I'm going to vote present today just to move on the process, but I hope that we can continue to tighten that language.
Sure. I think that part of the reason why the provisions are allowing broad court discretion is because these things can't be taken back once there's been exposure. So, and a lack of compliance is so damaging to kids, and we have already had these types of materials have been made illegal to distribute to children, and yet it's still going on. So I understand your hesitancy and look forward to talking to you more.
Okay, yep, and I look forward to have some other ideas just for some amendments to tighten some other language, and look forward to the conversation. Thanks, Senator. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion on the adoption of the substitute? See none, this will be a voice vote to adopt the substitute. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. You've adopted the substitute. Now I make a motion that we vote do pass Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 276. Can I get a second? Okay, got a second. Yep. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor? Never mind. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Bratton.
Aye.
Hudson.
Aye.
Gregory. Henderson. Nurrenbern. Schroer. Weber.
By your vote of 5 aye, 2 present, the motion passes. I make a motion that we take up Senate Bill 483. Okay, got a second for your own bill? Okay. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Perfect. All right.
Just,
So any discussion then?
Yeah, so this bill is the providing explicit material. There is some clarification with all the discussion we had on the crime bill and Senator Roberts' bill yesterday. I didn't have a chance to get that into a sub, but we will have a sub clarifying that and trying to go over written material that is very explicit for minors. So as of right now, it's just the standalone bill.
Perfect. All right. All right. I make a motion that we do pass Senate Bill 483. We have a second. Any discussion? All right. Seeing none. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Bratton.
Aye.
Hudson.
Aye.
Gregory. Henderson. Nurrenbern. Schroer. Weber.
By your vote of 7-0, the motion passes. I'd make a motion that we take up Senate Bill 485. I have a second. I make a motion that we move Senate Bill 485 do pass. Any discussion? So this is the elections bill for that the senator presented last year for school board, or last week, excuse me. Any discussion?
I will probably vote to get out of committee. I still have some concerns of will they get lost down ballot. I'm just going to say that. But I get the concern that you want more people voting in that election too. I just wonder how many will actually go that far down the ballot. So.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Bratton.
Aye.
Hudson.
Aye.
Gregory. Henderson. Nurrenbern. Schroer. Weber.
By your vote of 5-2, motion passes. So I'm going to make a motion to take up Senate Bill 11. I know this is something that I've never done. I've always tried to make sure that people have time to digest, especially after hearing the testimony we did. So I make a motion that we bring up Senate Bill 11. Second. Okay, we have a second. I make a motion that we do pass Senate Bill 11. We have a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'm not opposed in most of the committees, especially committees that we hear the same bill year after year, and exacting same day. I know this is something we used to do in the House. It stopped toward the end of my tenure in the House. I hope that this is going to lead to more bills moving through the process quicker that we've heard year after year. But in the favor of getting this compromise, getting all the parties together on something that could work for our state and not hamper the budget anymore, I will support getting it out of committee. But with that said, hopefully we can, judiciary and other committees I sit on, expedite other bills as well.
Yep. Okay. Any further discussion? Yeah, I too, have heartburn with the underlying bill. I wish we had a substitute potentially to have. I hate to think of the potential cost as bill as written that would be passed on for research facilities and things in the hundreds of millions of dollars that would be with a bill like this. So I hope this is definitely not what makes it to the floor. So any further discussion? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Hudson.
Aye.
Gregory. Henderson. Nurrenbern. Schroer. Weber. Bratton.
Nope. All right. By your vote of 5-2, the motion passes. I make a motion that we move out of executive session. Have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. We're out of executive session. I make a motion that we adjourn. We have a second. We are adjourned.